Thank you for joining me for part two. Now, I think where I left off was where the Cherokee tribe in Georgia was giving the white man a taste of their own medicine. Now, the Cherokee tribe took Georgia to court. And in the case of Worcester versus the state of Georgia in 1832, that case went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And Chief Justice John Marshall ruled in favor of the Cherokee, and that Georgia could not impose laws in Cherokee territory. Now, President Jackson was quoted as saying to one of the U.S. Marshals, now that Chief Justice John Marshall has made his decision, now let him try to enforce it. President Jackson definitely had other plans. He made it very clear with the South Carolina nullification crisis in 1828 to 1832, and you can look that one up, that he was the supreme leader of this nation. Now, the white man, or now they want to be called the Americans, found it very difficult to settle in the southern parts of the Americas because it was home to the Cherokee, the Choctaw, the Creek, the Chickasaw, and the Seminole. In 1838 to 1839, President Jackson enforced the Indian Removal Act along with the United States Army. He did this in defiance of the Supreme Court ruling. Jackson was quoted as saying, "Build a fire under them, the Indians. When it gets hot enough, they will leave." The Trail of Tears in 1838 refers to the forced relocation of the Native Indians to Indian Territory in Oklahoma. Now, during this roundup, many Native women were raped, were tortured, were hung, and killed, and their vaginas were scalped or cut off and worn on the hats of the soldiers or militiamen. Kind of sounds like the same thing they did to another group of people later in history. Natives were rounded up by gunpoint, their belongings were seized, their land taken, and they were forced to move west. Many suffered from exposure because it was winter time when they started, also disease and starvation. Over 4,000 Cherokee died, over 2,000 Choctaw died, and 1/3 of the Creek died on this walk, on the Trail of Tears. And it was mostly women, children, babies, and the elderly. Now, that's more than in 9/11, where almost 3,000 people were killed. And that's including emergency medical, police, and the people at the Pentagon. Choctaw were the first to walk the Trail of Tears in 1831, then the Seminoles in 1834, the Creek and the Chickasaw in 1837, and the Cherokee in 1838. Now, by 1837, 46,000 natives were removed. 25 million acres were seized and turned over to the white man to settle. Don't get me wrong, because I know You know, you're going to listen to this and you're going to think that I'm racist or whatever because I've been called that before. But it doesn't really matter to me. But if you're feeling guilty, then you must be. Now, there were a few white men that tried to assist the natives, like Tennessee Congressman Davy Crockett, Chief Justice John Marshall, Principal Chief John Ross, who was an eighth native, and I think he was Cherokee. Daniel Webster, Henry Clay, and General John Wool inadvertently assisted the natives by resigning his command, which made it longer to enforce the walk because they had to find a replacement. President Jackson had made quite a name for himself. He liked to be called King Andrew. He removed many natives from their own land. He married an already married woman and had an affair, was almost assassinated, used terrorist tactics to get his bills and points across and passed. He owned slaves and he bought and sold slaves. And this reminds me of a video that my royal consort Heru did, and it's called Your Name, the Oppressor Equals Death. So for those of you that have the last name Jackson, if I were you, I'd change it because you're carrying a curse. So, you know, since you're carrying his last name, people also carry this. This is a $20 bill. It has his picture on there, and it's a worthless piece of paper, but still, we have to carry this around. And it's cursed. So, you know, what I've learned from this is that the European is an illegal alien, and that the native or the indigenous people of this land need to stand up and ask them for their green cards and their Visa cards. Because how can you, this European, own the land that they never had in the first place, and rename the lands that already had names? Change the boundaries of this country that already had boundaries. Poison the waters and the air. How can they take a country that wasn't even theirs in the first place? The Cosmic Mother, or Mother Earth, as some Indians call her, or creation, as some other Indians call her, is definitely not happy with what's going on to this land. There is so much corruption and destruction that if you people don't get it together soon, you're all going to be turned to death. To dust, excuse me. Death too. And if you look at Genesis 3, verse 19, it says, "For dust you are, and dust you will return." And if your government continues on the path that it's going, all y'all are going to have to learn Chinese, and you're going to have to learn it fast. Xi, Hao Le, Wu Xiao, Xi In Zhongwen. Thank you. That's all. Learn Chinese fast.